Oh, Hades, episode 6. You finally back.
Yep.
Did the hospital
Went
finish
home.
probing?
They did something.
Like, did they take the toy car out? No, that was Jackass. Sorry, the wrong show, dude.
What the fuck?
Well, I mean, you were gone for some time, so it's clearly deep in there. Or did
I
Bigfoot?
mean,
Or did Bigfoot catch you? It could be either one.
I knew that was gonna come. I knew that was. Go ahead and get the other one out the way too.
The probing alien. When's that story coming out?
Never, because it didn't happen.
It did. And what we'll do, yeah, to make sure it really happened, we'll say knock on wood. See that? That's how you bring it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing out here.
So do you know why people knock on wood?
Not really.
So the idea is spirits reside in the woods, like dead people, and good and bad spirits are in trees. So when they needed safety or protection, they'd knock on wood. It's slightly changed now. We knock on wood as in nothing bad could ever happen. Knock on wood. That's sort of
I could see what that comes
pulling
from.
it away, but yeah, it's like the spirits will stop anything bad happening if we do this.
Says the actual origins and the meanings of the phrase is varied with centuries. It is an Indo-European Celtic belief,
Or
which
Celtic.
yes, pretty much what you were saying is the spirits. Um, it's mainly particularly biggest in the Christian belief, linking to the practice of a magical power in the wooden crucifix.
Yeah, because the wooden crucifix holds power because it can remove demons. So the demon would go to the wood, which is the spirit in the woods.
This says it was derived off of a British 19th century game called Tiggy Touchwood. Did I say that right?
Children's game, yeah, Tiggy Touchwood, which is like tag.
Yeah.
It's that, but if you're holding a tree, you can't be tagged. It's like your safety.
Okay, I see what y'all doing
Yeah.
out here.
So it's like if you're
I wish
holding,
I'd have
if
known
your
that.
hands on the tree, you're out the game until you let go of that tree again. So your tree was your safety. So knock on wood, you're safe. Now, Hades, what about? Do you like cats?
Not really a big cat fan.
Is
No.
that because the black cat's unlucky?
I've never been one to say that black cats were unlucky, but I've known a lot of people who were really big on not like they would go out of their way to avoid the shit out of a black cat. And I've never really understood,
Now,
but
the black cat isn't a fear of black cats. It's if a black cat crosses your path, it means death. The cat brings death. So it's not being in contact with a black cat as if you let it cross your path while walking. It's unlucky because it means death's coming.
yeah, I that's one that I've never really honestly kept up with, but I've legit seen with my own eyes motherfuckers just divert their busy ass day to walk away from a cat, which also leads into the fear of walking under a ladder. Never really understood that as well, but I've like where a black cat is, the ladder superstition is right there.
Well, the ladder one kind of makes sense, right? You don't walk under a ladder because something could fall off the ladder because it usually means someone's working it, right? Something could fall, hit you in the head. That one's more of
Yeah.
a practical, common sense. Don't walk under the ladder because one, you could knock the ladder and whoever's on it falls off, or if anything's up there, it could fall on you. So I see that one as useful. It's good practice not to walk under the ladder because shit could get dropped on you, or you could knock somebody off a ladder, which could be unlucky. You could knock somebody off and they kill them, they die, or something could fall on your head and fuck you up for a while. So that one's got more of a practical use.
Yeah, the origins behind it is kind of a little weird. So it symbolizes what's called the Holy Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit to association with the number of rungs on the ladder. I've never heard that before.
Because
So they say walking under it could be like disgraceful to a religion. I've
that's
never
because
heard that before.
most ladders have 12 runs, but you don't step on the last one, which counts as 13. So it's the unlucky 13 comes back.
Yeah.
Now, is there any superstitions you believe in? Is there anything you do that you would consider superstitious?
Off the hand, no, I do not think so. But I'm sure that there is something that I do that would be considered superstitious. Like my family, my grandpa was a big fucking superstitious person. Everywhere he'd go, salt over his shoulder. I
That's the
never
only one
really
I do.
understood that either.
That's the one I do. Is
The
just throw
salt over his
if you
shoulder.
spill salt, throw it over your shoulder. Yeah, and
Uh,
that's just because my family did it growing up, so it's just like I've carried on.
oh, I guess yeah, lucky pennies. I guess that would be something that I do. I was just looking down at my table. I do carry like pennies, but most of the change that I carry that I consider lucky are not from where I live. They're like old old war coins,
So you
good
believe
coins.
in
So
luck?
in some certain, yeah, just yeah, some somewhat.
See, I've never understood believing in luck because surely you create your own luck. Because if there's two paths that you have to choose in life, yeah, left or right, it doesn't matter where the either one goes. You have to make that decision to go left or right. Where left could be a shit outcome, right could be a good, but it could also be the other way around. Left could be the good and right could be the bad. So do we not create our own luck by the choice we make? Like
Yeah,
like if you got a phone charger and the cable's all fucked on it and you plug it in and get electrocuted, people say, well, that was unlucky. Well, it wasn't because you chose to use that damaged product. So did you create your own misfortune? Because you made that conscious choice to use it.
yeah, that I guess that's a head scratcher right there. Because I guess yeah, you do make your own luck, but subconsciously you got that stuff in the background that makes you think is like, oh, this happened because I broke a glass
Yeah, but isn't
2 3 years ago.
but couldn't that be putting the wrong pieces of the puzzle together?
Yes, natural assumption, like people being human and just naturally assuming things without actually looking into the cause or effect of it and not paying no attention.
But
Just the assumption.
couldn't that also be our inherent nature to try and add things up? Like you ever go in a place where you get that feeling something's not right, and then you try and put together why it doesn't feel right, when in reality it's just your own mind playing tricks.
Yeah.
Because I don't inherently think anything's unlucky. Like the number 13, I don't associate that with bad luck.
Never understood why they assumed 13 was a bad. I mean, I kind of know the history behind it, but I don't know why they assume that like Friday the 13th. That's another
Because
little
13's
thing people are
associated with the
worried
devil.
about. It is like when I was younger, I was told this off the wall story of like the origins of where Friday the 13th come from, but I never really looked it up to see if it was true or not. I mean, I was told like back in the day they had these Templars. There were 13 of them. They were committed of a crime, and they were all 13 burned on a Friday. Don't know how true that is, and that's just a superstition my grandfather like encrypted into it.
See, I think the 13 being unlucky is associated with religion. Because there's 12 commandments, and the 13th, the devil comes to repent. So is it more of a
Yeah,
religious based fear? Because remember, back in the day, a lot more people were
big
religious than they are
time,
now. Religion
big
was
time.
huge. So the 13 is unlucky because it's associated with the devil. There's 12 commandments. On the 13th, the devil does his deed, whatever he's doing. So is the 13 just originated from the association with the devil from religion, and we've just carried it on even though religion's faded out off it? Because it's now no longer seen as a religious thing. It's just everyone's wary of 13. Because there's some buildings in America that the 13th floor is not labeled on the elevator.
Yeah, I can pretty much vouch for that. There's a couple buildings that I've been into that I noticed, even like on the elevator, it's numbered 13, but it doesn't like when you get out, it doesn't really. It's not very vague on where you're at, but it like points you in your direction that you're obviously looking for. You know what I mean? I thought that was weird, and that was in one of the hospitals I went to, like doing the pre-surgery stuff. I mentioned it to them. They just didn't say nothing about it. They just went about their business.
There's a building in the UK that's 16 floors, but on the 13th floor, there's not even a button. No one can get to the 13th floor. It's used for service only to stop people going there. which is always confused me. Like, why would you do it? If you go into that distance to avoid 13, why not just build 12 floors? Because then you take the 13 completely out. Because even though you're not marking the 13th floor, it still has a 13th floor. So if it's that unlucky, it's still bad to have. Just because you didn't write 13 down doesn't mean there's not 13 there if you count.
I mean, yeah, you're true on that. Never really understood that, but I'm sure there's a lot of places you can go to where like it's like a big thing for Friday the 13th and the number 13. But like you were saying, when it comes to religion, like nowadays, I think everybody's just grown used to the thought of 13 being a bad number. And then like we've turned around and made things like Friday the 13th, horror movies and shit like that, which would make people who don't know anything about it assume, okay, Friday the 13th, I've seen that in the movie. That's bad.
But isn't that like sort of programming?
Yeah.
Like we're programmed to think 13's bad, shouldn't do anything this day. Because you should protect yourself on 13th because you never know what's going to happen. Like the full moon, a lot of people think full moon werewolves, but we
Yeah,
but
the
we commonize it with movies, which sort of glorifies the fact and embeds it more because we're pointing it out. Oh, look, it's the 13th. Bad shit's happening because we're pointing it out instead of it just being today's the 13th. We're just getting on because it's not on our mind because there's all these movies and text pointing to it. Does that make us more conscious of it or weary of it?
I mean, yes, but like you were saying in the old days, bro, like people were super religious, and if they smelled like anything wrong, they would boom, assumption, you're witch. Oh, you know all about this right here. You no, you're getting kicked out. Like we don't think that's cool. And that all leads up to being pretty much brainwashed.
But is there a
Um,
reason why it's done that way?
that is a question that I think a lot of people are searching for. I don't know.
Okay, here's one that you've probably done. I know I've done this a few times. Yeah, breaking a mirror.
Yeah,
Do you find that one unlucky?
no.
Do you? So the reason I think it's unlucky is because you're breaking your reflection. So you're trapping whatever was reflecting back into millions of pieces. So the idea the eyes are the keys to the soul. If you're looking at the mirror and it breaks, you're trapping something because your soul's reflecting back, right? Because of your eyes.
Yeah, I can see that. But then again, that comes to I think a lot of that's pushed towards like when we were younger, our parents were told certain things through generations and generations. Certain things have like been diluted and like made aware to certain folks. Like when I was younger or whatever, the whole breaking the glass was a big thing, not walking under ladders and all that shit. And then like nowadays, you really don't hear much about that shit. But one of the biggest things I do see around where I live is horseshoes. Like people think that it's also like got some mystical being. Like you even have to hang it a right side, otherwise it loses its I guess magic. I don't
Loses
know.
its fortune. A lot of traveling communities
Yeah.
believe that the horseshoe's lucky. And I mean, back in the day, the horseshoes would have been pretty lucky because that's how you travelled, you traded, you got your food and all that sort of stuff. That's your horse was the equivalent to a car. So the lucky horseshoe kind of makes sense. Because if your horse lost its shoe, it wouldn't be able to walk properly and things like that, and it could lose you money. You wouldn't be able to feed your family. So I think the luck, or the lucky horseshoe could come from racing as well, horse racing. The winning horse must have been lucky, but it's his horseshoe.
Yeah. I guess that brings down to where like people kind of make their own luck in certain ways, but let's bring this one in. Let's bring a dumb one. Like I was told this a long time ago. Chewing gum at night. You ever heard of that?
No, I've just always been told chewing gum's rude.
Chewing. like there was a big thing. Chewing gum at night, I guess, uh, made it seem like you were chewing flesh or something like that. Like the origins of it comes from Turkey, and it says that you have the fear of accidentally consuming dead flesh, and the thought of doing it in the dark makes the chewing gum magically transformed. Which I've never understood that, but I've heard it a lot when I was younger.
That seems more like a dream state thing.
Yeah,
But a lot of people chew gum to remove anxiousness because people are comfortable when they're eating and it triggers the same chemicals in your brain to say that you're eating, so it relaxes you. It's a weird one. You ever crossed your fingers for good luck? I know
I
you
think
have. Everyone
everybody.
has. Yeah.
I think everybody has at one point in their life has crossed their fingers for luck.
But why? What could be lucky about crossing the fingers?
I do not know, um, but it did come across here a second ago.
It's from Europe.
Superstition across one's finger is a good luck comes from pre-Christian pagan times in Western Europe. Practice of making crossing your fingers with the index finger to the person thought to concentrate the forces of good spirit.
You have artisan culture open, don't you? Because I just followed that. I can see it. But,
Yeah, I do.
but the crossing the fingers seems more unpractical. A lot of superstition have practicality, right?
Yeah.
The crossing the fingers seems unpractical. And cross my fingers for good luck sort of limits your mobility of your hands. The one thing that makes humans so great is our ability to pick things up. Crossing the fingers sort of seems like it'd be counterproductive.
Yes, but I think somehow it's naturally just been burnt in our brains through the generations of being something secondhand. Because you'd be like, oh man, I'm going for a job interview. Wish me luck. Cross my fingers. And like, bro, I can't. I don't think there's ever been a person who's like not done that shit.
I mean, I've done it as a kid. I don't. I can't remember doing it as an adult because I realized it kind of doesn't make sense. But as a kid, obviously, everyone's done it. It's kind of. It's a weird one. You can understand a symbol, right? Like the cross being lucky because, you got the protection of the Lord and all that sort of stuff. But the cross on the fingers, just. It's a weird thing to do. Because it's a
Wasn't
symbol.
there, wasn't there a term with it? Cross your fingers and hope to die. I don't remember if that
No,
was
that's
it or
cross
not.
your heart and hope to die.
Oh
That means
man,
you're
it's been
telling the
so long since
truth. Yeah.
it's been so hard long since I heard that, so I can't remember.
So back to numbers. The number 4 is also very unlucky in Chinese culture because of its symbol means death. So the number 4, all fours, is banned in China. So the mobile number or the cell phone number, whatever you want to call it, is banned because it means death. Now, do you think something not physical can hold power? Like, let's say a phone number. Could a phone number ever be unlucky?
No. How I mean, I don't see how any random generated pattern of numbers would be unlucky.
So there's
I
a
mean,
note.
for a PC maybe, but not for humans.
There's about 8 banned numbers in America, cell phone numbers, because every person that's had them numbers has died shortly after getting the number. So the phone companies block that number permanently
I
because
want to
every.
recall one of them numbers was a famous person. I
Well,
just don't think his
you,
name needs to be said.
you got to think it though. The chances of a phone number coming from a dead person is very high because numbers are recycled.
Yeah,
If your number becomes
constantly.
inactive, it gets recycled after about 5 more years. It gets cycled out. So the chances of it happening are very high because most numbers that go disconnected is because someone's died and they had that number because no one's going to be using that number once they're dead. So it's going to get cycled back into usage. But the fact of phone companies themselves were blocking them numbers from being given out again because the amount of people died from them. Now, coincidence, yes, would be what I'd fall on. It's more of a coincidence than this number's unlucky.
mean, coincidences lead into people thinking things are unlucky.
because we
This
put two
happens
and
to
two
you, this
together and get
happens to
6.
him. Yeah. So they immediately assumes like let's just cut this and go about our day.
So is superstition humans' way of trying to explain something that they can't explain? Like, let's say I won the lottery and it was the first time I put the numbers on. I wouldn't be able to explain how I managed to cherry pick them numbers, so people would say that was lucky. When in reality, it was probability. The probability of getting the numbers right is determined by how many numbers are played and then how many people buy a ticket. The more people buy a ticket, the lower your chance of winning is because more people have different numbers, so it's more randomized.
Yeah.
But people would fall under luck. You were lucky, you won the lottery. No, I played probability and I won.
If I'm not mistaken, I watched something like that on TV with a dude who won the lottery last. Like he spent a few years like looking into it and all that shit. And like when he did hit it, he went with like exact fucking numbers. Like he studied it to the point where he had his exact numbers and went up there and hit it.
So you know who Darren
Like,
Brown
is that
is?
luck? He's the British guy who hit like the lotto twice, ain't he?
Yeah, he predicted it twice, and he gets it right every time. He doesn't play it because legally he can't, because technically they count him as inside information.
Yeah, I remember seeing him on TV.
But using math, you can almost predict the lottery each time. It's very complicated because even he said it took a lot of people a lot of time to work out the pattern. But that means it's patterns. That doesn't mean it's luck at that point. That means he worked out the algorithm, realized the probability of each number, how often it comes up against another number, and then followed the pattern. But because I don't know the pattern, I assume you don't know the pattern, I assume 90% of the population don't know the pattern, we'd see it as luck if we win. Like, I wouldn't know how to work out how to win the lottery. Even if Darren Brown explained it to me, I probably still wouldn't work out how he got that pattern. So everybody think, oh, that was lucky you won, when in reality, it's just a game of chance.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you think about it, we're
With
almost
like,
always guaranteed a winner every time the lottery's done, right? Because
yeah,
the probability of one person having that right number out of the 6 million, 10 million people that play it, patterns start reproducing at that point. Because how many people play the lottery and just pick one lot of numbers? But most people do like 5 or 10,
yeah,
which then means that there's 60, 70 million different combinations. You're going to get it. The averages are at least 2 people are going to get it, which removes the luck aspect. So is there luck in anything? Or can everything
now
be worked out? Can
now
everything be
when they
explained, is what I'm getting at.
that also leads back to other superstitions. So like when they go and play them numbers, like I've seen people who had lotto numbers who do hit the lotto every year. I don't think they ever won, but they carry specific things
They're
like
lucky
rabbit's
numbers.
feet. No, like they carry like specific things that they think is a good luck charm, like rabbit's feet, lucky pennies. Even a dude who carries a fucking horseshoe everywhere he goes.
Well, when I was playing rugby, people would wear the same socks every time because they thought they were lucky. When in reality, they probably lost more games in them than they won, but because they had wins in them, they assumed they were lucky. When in reality, it's your own performance. If you play shit, you do shit. If you play well, you do well. But does that mean there's no luck in the world and everything can be answered? Like, it can be worked out why. There's a reason why.
I believe so.
Let's say I throw 10 balls at you, you catch all of them first time. Is that luck, or was you just predicting where I was going to throw it? Or after the first one, you saw that I'm just going to repeat the same pattern over and over and you're already waiting for it?
I mean, it would vary for people, honestly, but naturally, like people try to read you, try to see what you do. But at the end of the day, like some people let superstitions get the best of them.
Yeah,
I've
but
seen like baseball players, like their favorite bat just wasn't feeling too right, and they said it would throw their whole game off.
that also comes with humidity, the weight of the bat, the wood it was done, and what grain the wood is, because it changes how it flows.
Um,
But you yourself,
but
do you believe anything can be lucky? Like, even if it's not something you own, do you think there's something out there inherently lucky that whoever gets hold of it is very lucky?
yeah,
What? What is the item or thing?
to certain people, it would have to be different things. To me, myself, if I could get my hands on anything historical, I'd consider it lucky. Only reason I would consider it lucky is because one, it made it here through all those years sit in my hand, and two, like all the shit that's happened in the world since then, and it happened to end up in my hands. That would be something I considered luck, but
Okay, but
I don't know what a lot of people.
what if that lucky item's retrieved from somebody who died holding it? Would it still be lucky?
I don't know about that.
No, like
I
in your
mean,
mind, would you still consider it lucky that you got it even though it was taken from a dead hand? Like, let's say I
I
found you something
mean,
from 500 years ago. I gave it to you and said, by the way, I took this from somebody who died in a horrible way holding this. Would you yourself still consider that's lucky because it still made it all these years to be put in your hand?
yep,
Even though it could have caused someone's death, you still think
yep,
it could hold luck.
yep.
Now, do you consider it lucky just because it made all this time to get in your hands? Because we have a lot of old shit. If you go into the ocean, it's littered with shit from 5, 6, even 1,000 years, and we can just pick it out of the ocean quite easy.
I would find it lucky because I was the one that found that person's history. Like I
So
said, it's just all in the eyes of who has it.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. So do you consider it lucky because of its age? Not necessarily what it meant at the time to them. Like let's say it's just a piece of pot, which meant nothing to them. It was just their way of storing food or getting water, right? So to them, it doesn't hold any significance. But if it was put in your hands, could that still hold significance, or would it just be a piece of pot to you? Would it need to be something that they cherished as well, like a piece of
I
jewelry
mean,
or a watch or maybe a symbol, a cross, something like that? Would it have to hold significance to them for it to be lucky, or could it just be anything old you'd still consider it lucky?
it could be anything old. For like an example, like this will ever happen. If I ever happen to have a bowl from ancient Sumeria in my hand, I would be lucky. I'd think the bowl was lucky because one, it talks about. I mean, it doesn't say anything. It just I don't know, symbolizes what they were able to do at that time, and we're lucky enough to be able to see it because there's not that much of it out there to refer on, if that makes
Well,
sense
no,
to
because
you.
wood decomposes, turns to
Well, they
carbon.
used a lot of clay, like a lot of clay pots and a lot of clay stuff like that.
So could you make something lucky?
No,
You don't think
I
people
don't
can
think,
make things lucky? Like so if it was blessed or something, you don't think it could be lucky?
no, no.
So
I
what?
mean, but that also is just in the eyes of the person
Yeah, I'm
who,
asking your opinion here. So
no, I don't think.
what makes something lucky? Which is weird because we all probably have something that we think's lucky, but we don't even consciously think it's lucky. But what makes it lucky? Because you could have something that you consider lucky, it brought you joy, but bad shit's still happening, right?
I mean, I would consider it lucky is something that I like, say history. It's something that I can physically have in my hand, like say a brick from Rome, from anyone. Like say you got a little piece of the Colosseum or anything like that. I would consider it lucky because of one, it has a lot of significance and it means a lot to me to have that because I feel like I have a piece of history.
Do you think that comes from how little history we know or have?
Oh yes, big
Because
time.
obviously humans have huge history, but physically we don't have a lot of history because things get destroyed. Like, it's not like you could just go out into your backyard, dig something up, and it's super old. Like you just can't do that because there's just not that amount of old material left. Or do you think it comes from where you live more than anything? Like if you're surrounded by new buildings and only new stuff, there's no ancient stuff still there, no old buildings. Would that make something older more lucky because everything around you's new and has no history?
Believe yes. For example, let's say like a castle in the UK. I'm sure there's like a lot of stuff like that here in the US. Just it's hard to find.
See, that's why I don't consider old things lucky, because I'm surrounded by them. London's a very old city, and most of the old buildings are still there.
There's a lot of places where I'm from that's still here, but unfortunately, as I get reminded often, America doesn't really have that much history because we're not that old. Though the
I make
history
that
that we
joke a
do
lot, yeah,
have,
but it's true.
though the history that we do have, there is still here, but they're destroying them, like old houses and stuff like that. But they're getting destroyed.
But that's more safety factor though, because
Not really.
they're decrepit.
Not really.
So the thing about America not having a lot of history, it's true. They don't. They're one of the newer countries out, right?
Yeah.
You don't have thousands and thousands of years of history as America.
America, no.
The land may be, but as America, no.
No, no.
The same way the land I'm on's not always been called England. So it has history that's not English, but it's on the land I live. So Americas themselves are still very new, so American history doesn't go that far back. Where some countries can look very far back, like Egypt. That's probably the biggest example of how far you can look back without digging is Egypt.
I will say this, a lot of America's history is swept under the books because of people's stupidity. I understand, like, times were bad, but that's why you have to remind people, like, not to revert back to that. I don't know.
See, I think
It's more about historical buildings and shit like that that get destroyed.
yeah, because what we have to remember is history is only wrote by the victor. So if we went to war and you lost, your history would be gone because I'd then make it mine. So I'd change the history, even if I got it wrong, I'd change it to match what I'd just done. So the reason there's a lot less history is because I don't think a lot of it's classified properly. Like, the UK is the worst for this. We steal shit from everywhere and claim it as ours. We change history that way because people assume it's the British history, when in reality we've just stole it. So I think a lot of things are misclassified as historical.
I don't personally think, like, as much as I do joke about it, I don't personally think that it was stolen,
No, no, most
mainly
of it
for the
is.
rights of preservation.
Like,
I'm pretty sure when Howard Carter, for example, went in there in King Tut's tomb, he immediately thought, bro, if people get in here, this shit's gonna be gone.
but was it that or was it glorification?
A little of both at that time.
That's the
A little of
problem.
both.
I could say I want to preserve it, but in reality, look what I found, motherfuckers.
I never really got into Howard Carter as a person, so I really don't know. I just know in like some of his memoirs, he said he wanted to preserve history, and at that time in Egypt, like shit was kind of messed up. So, but then again, there was a lot of social things that he was trying to achieve as well. So for his own personal benefit.
But what you're saying, a lot of shit was going on back then. Kind of like is happening now, and we're not preserving anything. We don't preserve things
Yeah,
now because
not at all.
we live in the day of I bought this, I'm done with it, throw it away.
Take a picture and put it on the internet.
Well, not even that. It's like anything, isn't it? Like I could buy something, anything. Once I'm done with it, I'm gonna throw it away. Where in 500 years, that could be important information that I've just dumped. Because to me, it means nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like when you scroll through your phone and you got loads of pictures and you just start deleting them because you think, I don't need this, it's stupid, it's stupid. But what we don't realise is in a few hundred years, that could be important information that we're just throwing because right now you need a bit more storage on your phone or on your computer. So the idea is you can't destroy data. Even a black hole technically can't destroy data because you can read particles that come off it. But we're in a day and age where we're so loose with data that we're not really keeping anything for future generations to look back on. Which could also be a problem with technology that we're moving too fast, so we don't care about the old stuff.
Oh, bro, we moved way too fast in technology. If we would have moved at a steady pace and done what the original idea for technology would have done, we'd have been a little ahead than we are now.
Well, Moore's law kicks in, and we're at the threshold of what he could predict, and we're about to break it, and we're not slowing down. A lot of people think we're slowing down because newer devices aren't coming out with cooler features. No, because to progress we need efficiency. If things aren't efficient, we can't progress because we don't have the power. We're only limited. Our inventions are limited by the amount of power we can produce. So until we get more efficient with our power usage, we can't really go further because we don't have the power to we don't have the power capabilities to power that item. Like computers, if you keep building fast computers, you need more and more power. That's sucking more power out the grid. Cables in people's houses can't even run that amount of power. Where the new technology we have, the power's at the threshold where if you plug that into your home outlet, you will blow the breaker before it even gets to fully power up. So until we're more efficient, we can't really go any further. But we're not
So
preserving anything for future generations to look back. Because let's say there's a big wipe, yeah? Like, it could be anything. It could be a meteor, it could be a solar flare. We've got nothing. We'd have no way of looking back at what we've done. So we don't really have anything now that could be considered lucky in the future. Because we're in a society where it's throwaway. If I'm done with it, I'm throwing it away. If you're done with it, you throw it away.
yeah, pretty much.
Because let's say in 1,000 years, civilization's fucked, yeah, and somebody finds that hard drive with them pictures on that show what life was like, that could be considered very lucky. Because they finally worked out what we were doing. But would it carry luck, or would it make them follow the same path?
No, sure people are doomed to follow the same path because they know no better.
Well, remember, superstition doesn't have to be fingers crossed it's lucky. It could be unlucky things. Things that carry a curse. Now, do you believe cursed items are real?
Yeah, I kind of do. Yeah.
In what way? Like if someone put a curse on it, you think that curse could come true, or things
I
that something
don't.
so bad's happen that touching it's just bad idea.
I don't remember the dude's name, but he was a movie actor back in the day. He was a really big car guy. He had a car made.
James Dean?
Yeah, there you go. The car that he had made that was used in a few movies is the car that he died in. Somebody rebuilt and they died in, and somebody bought and they died.
But could that be coincidence again?
It could all be coincidence, but like that's where I've heard, like I seen this on Ripley's Believe It or Not, and they were talking about how people assumed that it was cursed because of all the deaths that was leading to it. I mean, after what happened to James, I'm not even sure that's really how it happened.
So I think the story is the car he crashed in was parted out, and everybody who took parts in that car died.
Yeah,
I think that's how it was done.
sounds about right.
But for
Thought that.
if items can be cursed, lots of land was cursed, weren't it? Like, by indigenous people cursed land. So-called witches used to curse land. You'll never be able to grow crops here, but every animal's gonna die. But it doesn't happen, right? Like we have crops growing everywhere. That's probably being cursed at some point. And it's growing life. It's not doing anything bad by bringing death. It's actually doing good by producing life. Even if that life's a plant, it's still life.
I mean, yeah, some of that is just people being people though, because they didn't get their way or they just wasn't done right. I curse you. I curse these fields like that. I don't know. That brings up like stuff like the Salem witch trials. I don't know if it's true, but I read here in America when the Salem witch trials was going on, like they were using compost or something that was composted with human fecal matter. And like I guess there's a reason why we don't use human fecal matter because we're
It's
like ingesting the
and
same
it's very
diseases and
toxic.
shit. So when they were going through that whole witch epidemic here, is because there was something growing on their brain that made them actually hallucinate. So like I guess they really thought that that shit was going on, but now that what we know, about what happened then, like you can take a step back and be like, damn, bro, just one small thing led into a
Yeah,
universal
brain parasite.
superstition, and yeah.
1 in 8 Americans has a brain parasite. I think it's
Mm.
1 in 3 Europeans have a brain parasite, which explains a lot, but you know. So, cursed items. So, tombs are cursed, right? And when they open, people usually die. That's not the curse, though.
That is nowhere near the
That's
curse.
usually black mold.
Yes and no, depending on the century and the era. They got hip to grave robbers. So like some of them high-ranking people and pharaohs started putting booby traps in there. So like if you did disturb the place that he had his final rest, and then you were probably going to succumb to it too. But it was only like, if I'm not mistaken, like referring back to Howard Carter, it happened to them, but it was only to the people who actually opened the tomb. Like the people who was first in there, like pushing the doors open
Yeah,
and
but
all that shit.
I can explain that away with science, though.
Okay.
So, contamination. If you seal something and it doesn't have irrigation, so it doesn't have air or water passing through it, it becomes stale and stagnant, which becomes toxic. Carbon dioxide rises, carbon monoxide goes through the roof, mold grows, you inhale that, you'll die. That could be more science than curse, though. But because people said it was cursed and then they died, they assume the curse is true.
Oh yeah.
When in reality, no, you've just inhaled a shit ton of carbon monoxide, which is lethal in small doses in your house. Imagine it building up over thousands of years. You open it, you big breath in because you
And
finally opened it. Oh shit, you just inhaled all that stuff.
not only that is, if I'm not mistaken, in those Egyptian traditions, it wasn't just a pharaoh; it was like his whole entourage. So like you're breathing in all of that as well. I guess.
Yeah, but because people have opened it and died, they assume the curse is real. So it brings back the question: could an item really be cursed? Like dolls, people say dolls get possessed, so they become cursed. Now, is that because someone's told you it's possessed and then your mind starting playing tricks? Oh, what was that noise? Something moved. That doll wasn't where I left it, when in reality it hasn't moved. It's more because you've been told it's cursed, your brain's triggering you pushing everything onto that bad happens. So something bad happens,
Now,
it was that doll because I bought it and it's cursed.
no, I don't righteously assume that that shit's true. Some people do, which led to the whole Annabelle thing. That doll is sitting in a museum. I don't remember where it's at, but that person bought it because they said they wanted to get it away from people.
It's a wife and
And
it's a husband and wife poltergeist hunting team that owns it. They own a lot of
yeah,
them.
they my thing is, bro, like if me and you was to come up with an idea, it's like, hey, let's make everybody think this doll's got like some kind of mystic powers. Eventually, if I tell you enough, or tell somebody enough, they're gonna believe it,
Yeah,
whether if
so
it's true or
that's what I'm
not.
saying. Is it your brain telling, like, making you think anything bad that happens must be related to that item because I now have possession of it? When in reality, it's
Yeah,
only because I've drilled that story into your head. Is this what I'm giving you is possessed? Don't fuck with it. Bad things will happen. And as soon as something bad happens, you'll be like, shit, I've still got this item. It must be that. Let's get rid of it quick. So is superstition more fear mongering than reality? Because if I tell you
big
something
time.
bad has happened to this item, in and I give it to you, and then something similar happens, whether it's coincidence or not, you're going to assume because you have that item that was what brought that bad luck to you.
That's gonna be the first thing. Naturally, being a human and thinking that shit, it's gonna be the first thing. Like, oh damn, that thing he just gave me is like really bad cursed.
Yeah, so is the item really cursed, or is it your mind playing tricks? Which then means, can anything be lucky, or is it because I've told you it's lucky? Your more forthcoming and positive outlook on things makes you think good things are happening, when in reality, the same things would happen. You just got more of a positive spin on it. Like, oh, you
That
lost your job, but you just got a better one. Oh, that's lucky. No, well, whether you had that lucky item or not, you that still could have played out the same. you'd have been pissed off you lost your job. You'd have been happy you got the new one, but you'd be more positive because you got the lucky item. Oh, this really did bring me luck. What else can I do? And then
Yeah, that it just all depends on how it's sold, honestly, how it's sold to them.
do you think lucky items could be a curse?
In some instances, yeah.
I think all
Some
lucky
people
items
would
are a
think
curse.
some people would think they have something of so much value that they like, I don't know.
Well, let's say I gave you something and I said it's super lucky, good things started to happen. You could blow all your money on lotto tickets thinking this is lucky. Nope, you're now broke and lost everything because you believed in a fake object.
I'm sure that's happened a lot.
So, do you think there's a difference between sentimental and lucky? Do you think sentimental
Big
things bring
time.
you luck? Or is it the positive outlook you
Oh,
have on that item?
it's more or less the positive outlook you have on the item because it's something that you hold dear and you in your mind, no matter what John, Joe, or whoever you want to call say so. Like you might say it's really bad. Oh man, that thing's bad luck, it's cursed, but it has sentimental value to me. And I don't see none of that happen.
Do you believe in more towards idiom side of superstition? Like, itchy hands means you're coming into money. Itchy feet means treading new ground.
That is,
If your palms
bro.
are itchy, it usually means you're about to take money if it's in the left. If your palms itchy on the right, it means you're about to lose money. Do you believe in things like that? Old wives' tales is probably the best way to describe it.
When I was growing up, that was fucking. My grandparents were on that like constantly.
But do you believe in it?
Like, no, your body. I mean, I don't know what anything about anatomy, but I doubt that has anything to do with it. You just people itch, man.
Okay,
So
what
you probably
about,
touch something.
like, you know when you get that cold feeling down your back and someone says, oh, someone's treading on your grave? Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
Do you believe in things like that? Because your body can sense more than your brain can understand. Because we don't really use, or we use more than 10%, unlike people think, but we don't really use 100% of our brain all the time because we can't. We physically wouldn't be able to put enough power into it. Because everything takes power. Your body takes power. You eat, it burns it. That's why your body temperature's high. That's how you power your body. To be able to 100% use your whole body all the time, we don't intake enough substance to be able to power it. So could your body be sensing something before it happens? Like your ears are burning, means someone's talking about you.
I mean, yeah, I guess in a way, some of it could be true, but I think a lot of that also is just how it's sold to you. Like at a young age, like for me, my grandfather was always like, when he scratched his palm, he's like, "Oh, we're getting on some money," or something like that. I don't know. I
Like,
didn't really like get into it until I got older and like kind of realized like it. I don't know. I don't know why.
you ever walked in a room and you know someone's looking at you without looking at them, without seeing them looking at you? Like
Uh,
that could be the same
yeah,
effect. But is that paranoia? Is it because you think people are going to be looking at you because the way you dress today isn't your normal way, so people are going to look at it because they think you're going to look weird compared to normal? Is it like a self-conscious thing more than a reality?
it's more of a self-conscious thing.
Like if I walk into a
Um,
crowded room, I know people are going to look at me because I've just entered the room. That's normal. But when I sit, like, let's say I go to a crowded room and I go take a seat. When I took that seat, I don't feel like everyone's looking at me because I'm no longer walking through all of them because I've just entered the room last. Like, if you enter a crowded room, of course, people are going to look at you because, you know, you're entering the room. They're probably wondering, who are you? What are they doing here? It's not everyone's staring at you because you've done something weird or you look weird. It's more, you're just the last one in the room. People are seeing who's just walked in the door. Like a normal thing. Like if you're out in a restaurant, people walk in and walk past. You look at them. Look, you just, curiosity kicks in. I wonder who that is. They go sit down. Well, I'll just carry on with my day now. Where a lot of people feel like everyone's staring at them when they're nervous. Well, is that just because you've just walked into the room, people are looking at you, or is it a self-conscious thing because you're nervous? You feel everybody else can sense you're nervous, so everyone's gonna be looking at you, waiting for you to fuck something up.
I think it's more or less that.
Have you ever walked in and
Sometimes
felt
you
it?
can tell. Yeah,
But is that your nerves or your anxiety telling you everybody's looking?
a little of both. It's a little weird for me. I know you've seen like the little angel and devil on your shoulders. Like it's like that, having people constantly talking at the same time. So I don't like being in big rooms because I can't. I always hear it.
See, when I walk into a big room, I normally stick out. I'm a lot taller than most people, so I stick out anyway. So I assume people are going to look. But I don't feel. It's like that. These ways to describe it. When people look at you, normally, it doesn't really matter, does it? They're just looking at you. But when you're in that state, you feel like everyone's judging you as you're walking. Is that the self-conscious part of your brain? Or is that your brain telling you people are looking at you just to let you know we've sensed that? Be alert.
Um, that's more of your self consciousness because you're already nervous. You're thinking the worst.
But let's
Already got 1,000 ideas of what's going on around you, but you don't bother to look up to see what's really going on.
but let's put a
Just play
different
it back
spin
in
on
your
it.
mind.
Is it a safety feature kicking in from when we used to be tribes, where you had to have eyes in the back of your head because you never know what's creeping up on you? Is that still like maybe you can your body senses a vibration, but your ears can't hear it, sort of thing? Like you know when someone's walking
That
up
could be.
behind you, and for some reason you know it, even though they're making no sound.
That could be like, I guess, a sense thing.
Is that like a prehistoric sense kicking in? Like you need to be alert. There's someone behind you. We don't know who it is yet. Like I love creeping up behind people and making them shit their pants. But most of the time, people turn around before you get close enough. It's like they already knew somehow, even though you're making no noise.
Yes, I guess it's like a little of your senses, and then like paranoia. It's like 1% or 2% sense, and like 97% paranoia.
But why would paranoia kick in unless you felt afraid? And why would you feel afraid unless you know someone's creeping up on you?
I don't know.
It's
Maybe
that
your
fight or
mind
flight.
goes. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Your mind goes immediately to fight or flight. Like I don't know.
Now, do you believe in fight or flight? Do you think inherently people they fall one way or the other, no matter the circumstance? Like, let's say I come to you aggressive, your first instinct is to run. Does that mean every time somebody comes towards you aggressive, you're always going to fall to run? Or does it depend on who you're facing, whether you turn to fight or flight?
Depends
Because
on who you're facing, honestly.
it doesn't have to be personal. You know when a dog runs up to you, something in your head tells you that dog wants attention or that dog's aggressive. So you got two options. You kick the shit out of the dog as it runs towards you, or you bend down and stroke the dog.
And then get bit.
Yeah. But what but why does it change depending on the dog even if you don't know who the dog is? Like who owns the dog or what dog that is?
You just sense it, man. Like I guess it's one of the natural
It's weird though.
secondhand things you have in the back of your head. Like you just sense it.
But it's weird how 90% of the time your body gets it right. There's that 10% where you fuck it up. You think that's a nice dog. Oh shit, there's my arm. But 90% of the time, why are we right?
That can be related back to the fight or flight. Like you can just sense, oh, all right, like this dude's chill, or you can sense like, oh, this dude's fixing to cause some problems here in a minute.
But why is there any certain animals we do it with? Because 9 times out of 10, a human's going to beat a dog if it gets attacked. Because we're bigger. We just
I
overpower
don't
them.
know. I don't know.
But if you look at a giraffe or a rhino or an elephant, you don't instinctively think, fuck, that could kill me if it wanted to. You're like, that's kind of cool. You don't instantly assume aggression from it. But something smaller than you, your fight or flight kicks in pretty quick for some reason.
Now, would you walk up on a pack of dogs?
Yeah, I've had dogs before. Dogs don't worry me. There's
I
lot.
don't know if it's true or not, but I was told in Chicago over here, like there's packs of dogs that if you get caught, like they'll like gnaw you down.
Yeah, but what you gotta remember, with dogs, you just have to show them who's boss. Remember, most animals won't fight you if they realize that you're too big to fight because they'll take too much energy. Because most animals fight for food. So if you put up
Yeah,
a
I
big
guess.
enough fight, most animals will back off because they'll realize I'm burning more energy than I'll get from this fucker.
Yeah, I guess I've seen people do it to bears and stuff like that.
Yeah, as long as you put up a good enough fight, most animals will give up. Unless they've already got a good hold on you. If you're face to face with like a tiger, if you show aggression and you fight back, most of the time the animal's going to give up because it realizes it's burning too much energy. If it can't kill you now, it's not going to be able to kill something for its next meal. Have you noticed packs of cats, one animal will chase it down towards the other so they know they can outnumber it and kill it with less energy?
Yeah.
Because it's energy consumption. But if that animal turns around and starts kicking the shit out of the one chasing it, the other one's going to think, that's probably not worth it today. We still need to eat. We still need to keep this energy until we've eaten. You never thought of it that way, have you? That animals do
Not
it for
really.
energy consumption. Do you think animals are unlucky? Like certain types of
No.
animals. Like people say don't like rats because they feel like they're dirty and unlucky.
No.
You don't think an animal could be unlucky? Like bring you bad luck? I don't mean the animal itself has got bad luck that day. I mean, could it bring you bad luck?
No. No. Like animals are they're animals. I don't think they can bring you any kind of luck.
Can a human
I
bring you
mean
bad
now
luck?
now depending on how you look at it, it could bring you luck being like having a cow or a chicken, like it brings you food, you're lucky, you don't have to go buy it. But other than that, no.
Okay, can a human be unlucky to you? So I'm not saying you yourself can be unlucky. I mean, if somebody's with you, could that bring you
Mm,
bad luck? Or is it
See, that's
coincidence?
that's interesting. So
We can all
I
name a
don't
story that
think,
fucks us up with a person.
yeah,
But is that
I
because
don't
we made
believe
the
it's
wrong
true.
decision?
It's more of they didn't make the right decision is the issue. I've
Or,
known just the thing is I've known people who are so accident prone. Like nobody wants to be around them because they're accident prone so bad. Like something's gonna get fucked up while they're around and you know it. And
so
every time they come around, something gets fucked up.
you said that it's more they made the bad decision. No, you still made the bad decision to be around that person, though. So they could say you were the one at fault.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Like, you ever been with somebody and for some reason everything's going right? Then you meet up with somebody else a couple of days later and everything's going wrong and you think, well, that person's unlucky. This other person's lucky. Or is it just coincidence? Is it just you had a good day, they're having a bad day? Is there
That's
inherent
more along
luck?
the lines.
Do you
I
believe in
mean,
the luck of the coin flip?
no,
So if it's heads, you're going to have a good day. If it's tails, you're going to have a bad day.
no, I never believed in it.
You ever made a decision on a coin flip?
I'm pretty sure all of us have at one point.
But what makes that the good option? What makes that the lucky idea?
I honestly don't know.
What's more
I
lucky, heads
don't
or tails?
heads. I don't know why it's a face coin.
So luck can play into it. It's a weird
I
way to think
guess,
about it,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but then again, like I don't know.
But is that
Some
just your
people,
perception of it?
yeah,
Let's say you flip
probably.
a coin 10 times, 6 times it's heads, 4 times it's tails, right? You're gonna think heads is more lucky. But if I flip that same coin, I could get the opposite. Does that mean I'm unlucky, or does that mean it's just coincidence that it flipped differently?
It's just coincidence.
Because if you're good at coin flipping, you can guarantee which side it falls on by how many times you spin it. So does that remove the
Yeah,
luck aspect from the coin flip? Let's say you're really good at getting heads all the time, yeah, and you make a decision: heads I do this, tails I do that. Well, because you know you can get heads, you're going to put the heads on the option you really wanted over the other one. So is it lucky, or is it you just trying to bring a reason for your fucked up decision making? Like, let's say I'm good at getting heads. Heads, I have another drink. Tails, I don't. Well, in my head, I still want that drink. That's why I put it on heads. If I didn't
yeah.
want that drink, I'd have put it on tails. So does that remove the luck? It's just me trying to justify my bad decision making and getting drunk. You know, I've just broken your whole theory in one go, and it hurts. I know.
It's kind of fucked up. Oh no.
That's just ruined your
Hold
theory
on
of
though.
heads or tails, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's true. If I can guarantee which side it falls on, I'm going to put down the decision I actually want. Let's say I say heads, I give you $10, tails, you give me $10. Well, if I can flip a perfect heads or tails, Well, I want that $10 more than I want to give $10. I'm going to make sure it lands on my side of the coin. Does that remove the luck? Because now I'm
Completely.
fixing it. And there's no way to
Because
auto-generate a right heads or tails. If you use a computer, it's an algorithm. You can predict it. So does that remove coin tossing from being lucky?
pretty much.
Because you can force the luck. So do you make your own luck?
At the end of the day, yeah.
See, we're slowly changing minds. One at a time. Do you think outcomes can be lucky?
Oh yeah.
But is it just because you think it's lucky? You get in a car wreck, you survive. Is that lucky? You survived, but you're now paralyzed from the neck down. Was it still lucky? Or you're in a coma that you're never coming out of. You still survived it. Is it still lucky?
Some people would perceive would be lucky to be alive.
But even if you've got no movement, no real brain activity, so by definition, you're pretty much a potato. But you're still alive. Even though you could be a hindrance to your family after that, because they now have to take care of everything you do. Is it still lucky to have survived that car crash?
Yeah. People cling to life. People want to live.
But
Lucky to be alive.
yeah, but if it was you who ended up in that coma that you're never coming out of, would you consider lucky to have survived that? I think the other way. I think I'm very unlucky to survive that. I'd have been better off not surviving that because I've got no quality of life afterwards.
And then the costs. It ain't like that over there, but the cost here would ruin you.
Yeah, well, let's take cost
You'd
out
be
of it though.
ruined.
You wouldn't have a quality of life anymore. You couldn't move, couldn't communicate. You're pretty much in a coma. You don't have a life at that point. Now, I'm not saying everybody in a coma we should flick the switch and end it. But my idea is if I was in a car accident, I was put in a coma that I wasn't waking up for, I'd be pissed off if nobody flipped that switch and turned it off. Why keep me alive at that point? I'd be unlucky to survive. I'd have been better off instant death.
Yeah.
Now, let's say I've got a test for you. Let's say you got in a car accident, you survived it, you felt lucky. Would you put the lottery on? Would you put numbers on the lotto? You yourself, would you do it?
No, I'm not a gambling person.
Okay, would you take more chances?
I'd probably take less chances.
But why? Wouldn't you take more chances because you've just been through something that should have killed you but didn't? Okay, let's get rid of the car crash. That happens way too often to use. Airplane crash. The airplane crashes in the middle of nowhere. You survived. You got rescued. You did well. Maybe you broke a leg or two. No life-threatening injuries. Would you then be more risk-taking because you thought, I survived a plane crash that no one should survive. I can do anything now. I don't mean you'd like jump off a building and try and survive. I just mean, would you take more risks in life? Would you go, I'll take that just in case it pays off? It could. I've just survived a plane crash. The chances of me surviving a plane crash are way lower than that turning out to be a good thing. Let's try it.
Well, number one, I'd never step foot on a plane again. Number two, I don't know.
I think I'd be more likely to get on a plane again because I know I could survive the crash.
There has been people who survived falling out of plane pilots in the air.
Yeah, it's been a few. It is possible. But would it make you more relaxed?
No. I'd be more precautious.
Of everything?
Everything. Yeah, I would double everything and everything. I already double think everything.
That's what I'm saying. So if you survive something that the odds are you should have died. Like let's say it's 99% chance of death and that 1% chance you survive, but you got that 1% somehow. Wouldn't that make you feel more relaxed about things? Like, I beat the odds that far out. Everything else is a bonus at this point because I should have been dead. So my time should have ended already. Every day after that is now a bonus, right? Because the chance of you surviving was so low. Would you then consider everything after that a bonus life? Would you change the way you live? Would you go healthier to try and prolong that life? Or would you be more enjoying of life? You do things that you enjoy more because you thought, I should have died. I'm just going to have fun until that day happens and I do end up dying.
No, instant paranoia would kick in over everything,
So
everything I do.
you'd wrap yourself in bubble wrap.
Theoretically,
So if you beat the odds that far out, you wouldn't feel like this is your chance to just do everything you've ever wanted to do because you know how small life is.
no. I honestly, me personally, it would probably scare the shit out of me, and I'd never come out of the house again.
Okay, do you think a good life is a long life where you do not much but you live till you're 90, or a good life where you could die at 40 but you've done everything you've ever wanted to? Because let's face it, we all want to live as long as we can. We all haven't wrote a
Honestly,
date down and said that once I've got here, everything after that's a bonus.
when it comes to shit like that, that's where I like to live by like Roman philosophy. I don't little I don't even remember like the exact quote, but it's I
Verdi
don't
Vidi
know.
Vici? And that's I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yeah, that it's more or less
Or is it Carpe Diem? Seize the day.
yeah, it's more or less that, but I don't really know.
See, I think if I
Some
beat the
people
odds,
value some people value life more than others. I'm not saying I don't value life, but I also say that I have major anxiety and paranoia. And something like that would probably like make it worse unless like somebody was there like guiding the way. I don't know.
see, I think if I survive the odds that far, I'd become super risk taky. I'd take every risk I could because I'd feel like the odds are now in my favor because of probability. Not superstition as in I'd feel lucky. I'd look on the probability side. I survived that. The probability of me surviving this is even higher. So technically, I should be okay. Which is edging your bets, but you're still using science to back it, right? The probability. So the probability of me surviving that plane crash was 1%. I survived it. The probability of me surviving skydiving, let's say 60%. Well, I'd go do the skydiving because my probability is even higher of survival than it is of death.
I mean, like I was saying a minute ago, I don't remember the actual quote, but like in terms it basically says live a life worth living. Like if you excel in what you love to do and like that's what you wanted to do, then I guess yeah, some would feel happy to die. It would be die happy.
So you believe in live every day like it's your last.
Somewhat, yeah. You never know what tomorrow is. And
Let's say I told you the world ends tomorrow. All gonna die. 100% guaranteed. Do you think you'd do anything on your final day? Or do you think you'd be so paranoid and worried that that time's about to end that you'd end up doing nothing? You just sit there thinking.
I would be out in the world.
I want to throw somebody through a window before if it was happening. I'd go anywhere just to throw somebody through a window because I wouldn't care. There's no repercussion, is there? What are they gonna do? Arrest you for the last 6 minutes of life? Well, who cares? It's 6 minutes. I don't care. I spend longer than that taking a shit in the morning. I'm not gonna miss that. Would you do something? Okay, let's say you had one day left to live. Would you do? What would you do? What would you do? Would you go
It's
nuts?
something I've honestly never really thought about.
Dude, I'd go nuts. I'd
And
cause mayhem because who cares? I wouldn't care. I'd go fucking nuts, dude. I'd steal a fast car, drive as fast as I could. Anybody in my way wouldn't care because it's the last day on the planet. There's no repercussions. There's no. You wouldn't have remorse because you've only got that time. The remorse would disappear because you're about to die.
honestly, I really don't know what I would do. I mean, there is things that I want to see, but if it was the last day and I really couldn't do anything, I don't know. I mean, everything's driven off money these days, so it's not like I'd be able to just like
But money wouldn't be a
go and
problem
do it.
because money wouldn't be worth anything if there's only one day left. No one's gonna say, "I'll give you $60 and I'll do it for you," because that money's they can't use that money after that day. I think 90% of the population would be in their house getting drunk, trying to numb the
Well,
pain.
if that's the case, then for the last 24 hours of my life, I would be sitting somewhere in Italy.
You wouldn't even do something fun, like
That
shoot
would be
somebody out of a
fun to
cannon
me.
or something.
No,
Dude, that'd be boring. You know what I'd do? I've just worked out exactly what I'd do. I'd get some explosives, put it in the sewer system, and watch shit shoot up like fucking fire hydrants. Why not? It'd be funny to see.
that would be super funny to see, but
Convince
like,
some idiots to stand there.
I don't know.
Someone's dying in your house, by the way.
Oh,
What happened to clean recordings?
I don't know.
Okay, do you believe in sayings? Like when shit hits the fan?
Um, yeah, no, I don't believe none of that.
Okay. What about like cold feet? Do you think when people get cold feet because they're worried about something, they actually get cold?
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
It's a weird one to think about, isn't it? Like, has anybody ever
Um,
actually checked?
no,
I've never got cold feet about sex. So I don't know how I'd check it.
I've I've never got cold feet about it either. If I just have a second thought, I just don't fucking do it.
But should you second guess decisions or should you just go with your gut?
I thought that was going with your gut, like second decisions, like your gut telling you, like, hey, that decision's fucked up, bro. Like, stop.
Yeah, but let's say you want to do something, your gut feeling, I'm doing this, this will be fun. And then you start second guessing it, oh, but what if this happens? Isn't that going with your heart instead of your gut?
Oh yeah, I guess I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm overcomplicating it a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay, do you want a Russian superstition? You've already read this
Shoot.
one because you got the same thing open. About giving yellow flowers.
That was a little weird to me because I thought like some, well, in old culture, some considered yellow being like a peaceful thing. So like a a country that deems it a superstition to be bad is a little weird.
See, I think giving flowers is weird anyway. Because I believe it symbolizes death.
I was about to say that like the most of the time that flowers are associated is either a wedding or a death, and it's mostly the death. And
See, I think flowers at a wedding's really weird. Because flowers die quick. That shows how finite time is. And you're giving it to somebody who's just got married. It's as if saying, yeah, your time's up. It'd be like a good calling card for a serial killer. Just leave flowers.
I think there was a calling card for it. I'd have to look that up.
We'll keep it for the next one. We'll do serial killers next. About how humans taste and think. We'll leave that for there. I don't want to get in trouble right now. So, hey, you got any
So,
more?
in Japan, they have a weird one. I know you've seen it, tucking thumbs inside of a cemetery. That's a new one for me.
The only thing I've ever done in cemetery, fuck English, a cemetery is always take your hat off.
Yeah, being respectful. Yeah,
Same as when a hearse is driving past. You stop what you're doing, you stand still, take your hat off until it passes.
yeah, I doubt people do that anymore.
They do here. If a hearse is going through like a town or a city, everybody stops their car. They just wait. You let the car pass before you carry on with your day. What about silence?
What about it?
Like when people say we should have a moment of silence for something, but why is my question. Like, why do we take the moment of silence? Like, do you know, like when you remember something, like Remembrance Day and stuff like that? You take a minute silence.
People say that so you can have a moment of silence to think about like memories and
But
times of fondness, but I don't know exactly where that term comes from.
wouldn't it be better though to share that memory Rejoice in that memory. Share it with as many people as you can.
People grieve different than others, I guess.
It's kind of like we glorify the bad, but we try to forget the good. That's what the moment of
Mm.
silence sort of makes me feel like. When people say we should take a moment of silence, it's like, but we talk more about the bad shit. Why are we not excited to talk about all the good that they did? Like all the people who came back from the war and won the war. They survived. We should be talking about it. We should be celebrating their life, not going quiet about it. But if a mass murder happens, everybody wants to shout about it. We
I
glorify the bad.
mean, it's not that when it comes to that side of it. There's a lot of shit, knowing people who's been in that situation. When they come home, they find it very hard to talk to people about it because they don't think, like, one, you're going to look at them differently, and two, you're going to automatically assume that there's something that they're really not, when in reality they were doing what they thought was right.
Yeah, it's PTSD. A lot of soldiers get it because once they start fighting, they realize they don't know what they're fighting for. You're in somebody else's
That's
country fighting a war
not
that you
true.
shouldn't be involved in.
That's kind of true, but not
A
true.
lot of soldiers say this. It gets to the point where you're fighting an enemy that you don't believe in because they're just doing their job the same way you're doing your job. I'm not on about like terrorism. I'm on about like just a war.
Eventually, it comes down to like you're fighting for the person who's standing next to you as well. Like, not only fighting for yourself, but at the end of the day, like whatever makes the situation better, that person to work.
But but the way I look at it, you're fighting somebody else's country and they're the bad person. But you're just as bad because you're still killing people. Just because you're in a uniform doesn't make the killing right. It doesn't, like, let's say, because they're in uniform, them killing somebody isn't that far away from me killing somebody outside of a uniform. You're still committing murder, right? Whether it's just or unjust.
I mean, yeah, that is one way you could look at it.
Because if there's two
Or
armies fighting, they're following orders. Soldiers follow orders, right?
pretty much.
No matter which side you're on, whether you're on one country's side or another, soldiers are doing their job. You fighting them, they're not the problem. The soldier isn't the problem. The soldier isn't really the enemy. It's the people pulling the strings who are the enemy. Because soldiers just do as they're told. Their job is to follow orders. They shit when they're told to shit. You eat when you're told to eat. You shoot at what you're told to shoot at. They're not the enemy. Because to them, they're defending what their country believes in. Now, if then the country I'm with goes to war, I'm now defending what the country I'm associated with believes in. Whether it's my belief or not. I'm a soldier following my orders.
Yes, but I mean that's a whole different conversation for another day. It literally leads up to patriotic duties. At one point in America, when World War II was going on, there were places to where
And they
when
turned up
people
late.
did,
We all know
there were
this is
places,
fact.
there were places in America that when people went to go get into the draft, if they were 4F, I think is what it's called, or they wound up committing suicide because they wasn't able to defend the country. And that's why I was saying it really depends on how they look at the perspective.
But that's also propaganda that does that, though. Like, I'm not saying people who go to war are bad people. I'm just saying the way it's done. Like, propaganda will make you feel like you have to do what's best for your country, right? We saw it in World War II. Propaganda was huge.
Propaganda was a real big thing
But
in
it's a
World War
problem.
II.
It changes what you think you believe in. You think you're doing the right thing when in reality you could be doing the wrong thing. Because let's say you're on the wrong side of that war and
Yeah,
the propaganda is telling you you're the good people when in reality you're torturing people, but you're told that's good because you're doing it for your country. When in reality you've got a fucked up dictator like World War II. A lot of them soldiers were
I
following
mean,
orders, doing what they were told to do. They were told they're
yeah,
right. They were told they were on the good side. But does that
but
mean there is
that's
no good
where
side?
that's where a lot of propaganda come into play. But in some countries like ours, like yours as well, you're attacked, and so are we. That's where it all come from. I'm pretty sure people were like they knew about it was going on, but until they were like faced with it, they didn't like feel the right and duty to do it, and then everybody was drafted.
See, right now there's a
I
war
don't
going
know.
on, right? Russia
Never
and
really looked
Ukraine.
into it.
But it's almost impossible to have another world war. For the simple
I
fact, too many people are spread out, right? Like it's not like in the UK, it's not just English people, is it? So if England went to war with a country, and let's say we went to war with India or something, and the Indian population in the UK would then be completely against that because that's their homeland. The same way, if I moved to America and America went to war with the UK, I'd tell America to go fuck themselves because that's not my homeland.
Yeah,
So
pretty
because
much.
because we're all nicely spread out now, and immigration's a great thing, despite what racist motherfuckers will say, it'd be hard to have a world war because we're all mixed in too much with everybody else. Like if you go to one country, it's not just like, let's say you go to the UK, it's not just British people here. If you go to America, it's not just Americans there. If you go to Brazil, not just Brazilians. Every country has a mixture of people, which is great. But it also helps stop world wars because we're too mixed up now.
Yes and no. Let's take World War II for example. There were a lot of Germans that lived in America that I forgot what the actual word is, like Festorcha or something. It's like a call to the motherland. Like all of them went home to fight in the war, even though they didn't believe in it.
Yeah, yeah, but the times were different then. We didn't have the level of truth. So no matter what, let's say they're using that, they can make up any bullshit they want, right? And back then they'd believe it because we didn't all have access to cameras to actually show what's really happening. It was so much harder now because you can't lie like that now. Like you can't
No,
broadcast to your country saying this is what's happening and it's
although
bullshit
some
because we
countries
can show.
still do.
Yeah, but they have way stricter regulations than we do. Like if the UK tried to broadcast on national TV that every other country is a piece of shit and we're going to fight all of them because they're torturing people, they're killing innocent people. Well, I could just go on Google and be like, motherfucker, you're lying. What the fuck what do you mean? These people aren't doing shit. They're just getting on with their lives. You don't have that same level of control over what your population can see. Like if America started broadcasting on national TV right now that they're going to war with every country because everyone's getting tortured and terrorized, you could just look up on any website. You could go phone people. You could even just phone people up. Like, is this really going on? No, it's all bullshit, dude. Fuck all's happening here. It's just a normal day. What do you mean? Like, they don't have that same level of control over media. Because we're independent broadcasters ourselves. We stream, we make content. We're independent broadcasters. So if the government's saying all this
Yeah,
shit, we could ourselves prove that wrong. Even if they tried to restrict the internet and restrict the connection, there's too many ways around that now.
some people are so set in their ways that they believe certain things and they believe when people tell them that's true.
Then they're inherently wrong because they can't make their own choice, right? They don't have the
I
cognitive
mean, yeah, if you want
dissonance.
to just, I guess, comes down to the way how they see it and how it was sold to them while I was growing up.
Yeah, but let's say right now, on TV now, let's say all broadcasts got took over for you, and you were told you're going to war with the UK. One, everyone's getting terrorized. Innocent people are getting murdered. We're kidnapping people. We're burning American flags. All this sort of shit was broadcast, yeah? It'd take you, what, 30 seconds to jump on a call with me, and I could show you what's really going on in the UK. I could walk you around the UK without you leaving your house. And you could see it's just normal day here. People are just going to work, getting on with their day. But back then, you couldn't just get on a video call and someone could walk you around somewhere without you leaving your house to see what's really going on.
And they had to trust what was on a slip of paper or what somebody was saying on the radio,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now you
which,
couldn't do that.
I guess led into a whole bunch of other shit. Because I know before bombardments were done, they'd even drop leaflets on town of propagandas and stuff like that, which I I don't know. I've never really looked into like what they were. I remember they did one before they dropped one of the bombs in Japan, like warning them to get out, but like it was more propaganda based than anything.
which can't be
I don't
done now.
remember exactly. I don't remember exactly like what it said, but I've seen like a slip of it.
The best analogy I ever heard was Hitler was the first person to have a microphone that could shout his propaganda. He's the first person who could broadcast across a country to start a war. Which is true. He could go on TV and broadcast his crazy fucking speeches. He was the first person to be able to do that to make a mass war happen. Now we're even more entwined with technology, which has the opposite effect. You'd think it'd make it easier to broadcast with people because it's on their phone, all this shit. But it makes it more difficult because, let's say, no matter what country it is, we could go to somebody in that country and get the real information. Because we have that level of technology to communicate now. Like, if America went to war the UK for bullshit reasons, I could prove all them reasons wrong. If it wasn't happening, if it was really happening, I'd prove it right. But also, it'd be stupid for any country to try and start a world war. No country could win it. No matter how big of a country you are, you would not win a world war. Because you'd be outnumbered too quickly. Look what Russia's trying to do, and we're circling Russia now. We're putting everyone into NATO around Russia to stop Russia being able to go anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, like, on their end, bro. But I haven't ever seen it, but I'm pretty sure like Russian propaganda is just like up there. But
Well, I don't want to side with
ours is
Russia.
still pretty bad too.
I don't want to side with Russia on this because, they're doing the wrong. A lot of their soldiers at the beginning were told this is a training exercise. They're not live rounds. They're not live equipment. When they were lied to.
How do you? Some of that has to break into common sense, though. You're going into another country that like you're not good with.
Yeah, but if you're being told it's a training exercise, who'd say they didn't say it's a peacekeeping? We're going to make peace. We don't want a war. We're going to go in there. We're going to arrive there. We're going to show them that we can protect them. But when in reality, it was showing how much force Russia had. Where them soldiers could have been thinking, we're going there to show them, look, we've got this equipment. We're going to protect you. If anything happens, we've got your back. The same way NATO just did with Switzerland and stuff. We just showed force. We said, right, you want protection? We'll sort it. Maybe in the Russian idea. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because we're not on that side, we can't see that. But for all we know, them soldiers could have been told, we're taking force there to make sure they know we've got their back if NATO tries anything. When in reality, Russia were just doing that to show force, saying, we could take you if we wanted to. Now they're realizing that's not going to happen. There's no way Russia can win this. They're now circled by NATO. Wherever they try and push any other country, they're fucked. And the harder they push Ukraine, the harder NATO are going to start pushing them back. We've already told Russia that it's a bad idea. Russia even tried to announce that they said they were going to bomb the UK and stuff for pulling people into NATO. Try it. No matter how deranged you are, trying to bomb a single country because they're protecting another country is a bad idea because clearly they're integrated with that country now. So if you attack one, the other one's waiting. The same way if Russia tried to invade America. Okay, start invading and see what happens. Oh look, half the planet's now circled you again. You've now got half a planet against your one country. NATO's powerful. I know America turn up late for wars and then try and take glory. We all know this. But we still protect you. We're the small island and we give protection to everybody.
I mean,
why do you think countries
honestly,
don't try and start shit with the UK? We're a small island, is the one reason. It's hard to get to us. Second of all, we're intertwined with so many other countries that if you attack us, all these other countries are jumping on that. Unfortunately, same way France, if a country tried to take over France, unfortunately, we still have to protect France. So no one's going to try and attack France because they're going to realise France are connected to the UK, NATO, Australia, I think, as well, America. It's just not going to work because you're now one country against half the planet. Like, you can replace that with any country. Germany, everyone protects Germany. Which is kind of ironic, but, it happens. If you try and take over Switzerland, everybody else backs Switzerland. because they're no longer neutral. So they have full protection because they're not neutral anymore. That's why these things can't work.
Like I said, I've honestly not looked into any of the conflicts that's been going on. I just
Well, no, even if you take out current ones. But if a country tried to invade a single country now, no country apart from Russia is on their own. The US isn't on their own. The UK's not. The rest of Europe's not on their own. That's why they targeted Ukraine, because at the time Ukraine was a solo country. They didn't have backing from anybody. But what's happening now? Every other country is telling Russia to go fuck themselves. We're cutting them off. They can't make money from us now. We've destroyed their economy. They can't get equipment. They can't get fuel because we've cut them off of everything. So we don't even have to fight the war to stop the war. You can strangle a country without fighting. And you can do that to any country. You just cut off all their supplies. And it's game over. You've got nothing to fight with. How do you think this is going to end? Do you think Putin's just going to get assassinated? Or do you think he's going to actually try and start a war? A proper big war?
I really don't know. Like I said, I haven't been following none of it. I don't really know that much about Russia. Well, current Russia. I know like a little Russian history, but
I can explain current Russia for you. Soon to be a car park is probably the best description. They're threatening all these bomb attacks. You do one and it's game over.
I mean,
They tried to
North
threaten
Korea
nuclear
did
weapons. We'll just flatten Russia again. Yeah, but North Korea have no power either to do anything. Because again, if they attack a country, what's going to happen to them? Every other country is now involved. Because we're all tied together. Which is another reason why I don't think world wars can happen. Because we're too tied together. We all use each other. Does that mean we're slowly working to a one nation?
I mean, if that was to ever happen, I'm pretty sure advancements in science and a lot of shit would.
I think it's going to happen, and we're going to call it Eurasia. Because Asia's massive and so is Europe. Put them both together, dude. Eurasia. See? Naming committee.
No, you're not back on.
And if we bring in America... I was trying to think of a funny one. Fat Eurasia. There you go.
You're stupid.
Anal leakage Asia. There you go. Perfect. Right, you got any more? We're an hour and a half in.
No, that was pretty much everything on the list.
Right, so next week or two, it'll be serial killers. Anybody ever wondered why Hades has a completely blacked out background? Well, we're going to find out.